Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Meg Moonbeam and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to be here with you guys today and sharing the astrology for our Mercury retrograde that we are going to be having from April 1st to April 25th, 2024. And as you can see, things are a little bit different on my channel today. I'm feeling to be outside here in Belgium, where I'm currently located in the countryside. Yeah, it's our first day of Mercury retrograde, so maybe this video is going to be a total flop and it's not going to work and there's going to be all crazy sounds in the background and I look ridiculous, but I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm feeling to sit outside. Spring has sprung. The birds are singing, the warm air is blowing, so I'm just feeling like doing things a little bit different today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate all of your guys' support here on my Meg Moonbeam channel, and I love bringing out content for you guys all on the astrology and mysticism and music, and there is a lot more cool stuff to come this spring and summer, so stay tuned. I also want to mention that I do offer personal astrology consultations that are available at the link in the description box of this video. And also my husband Jens and I are going to be hosting a Sacred England retreat in July of this year, 2024. All the information is also at the link in the description box of this video. We've already got people signed up and we still have some spaces available for any of you that are perhaps feeling the call to join us in Sacred England with like-minded community, visiting a bunch of sacred sites and doing daily meditations, ceremonies, and teaching. So definitely check that out. Today in this video, I want to focus on the Mercury retrograde in Aries that we are having from, as I said, April 1st to April 25th, 2024. Mercury retrograde is a pretty famous kind of astrological term that usually people have heard about, even if they're not really into the woo or into astrology. And it is a time when, isn't it just the most wonderful time of the year, you guys, when we have a Mercury retrograde? Just kidding, April Fools. It's April Fools as I'm filming this video. Mercury retrogrades are pretty wonky, funky times where we can notice in our day-to-day life a lot of things are messing up or not working properly. And that's because Mercury is the planet that rules communication, a lot of day-to-day activities, gadgets, devices, our cars, our friends, social media, many things that we use day to day, documents, signing documents, again, how we communicate. So when the planet Mercury goes retrograde, which is not meaning that the planet is actually moving backwards. A retrograde is when a planet looks like it's moving backwards from our Earth's perspective, but it's actually just going in a stationary circle where it's located. When a planet goes retrograde, this is a time when we are being called to review and reflect on the areas of life that that planet rules. This has to do with important decisions that we need to make, how we communicate, our friendships, our day-to-day devices and activities, our mind as well, our mental capacity and our thoughts. So all of those areas are up for review at this time while we're in a Mercury retrograde, but it's not just Mercury retrograde, it's Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aries. And this retrograde will be happening from 27 degrees of Aries to 15 degrees of Aries. This is a really interesting one because we've just come out of Mercury being in Pisces. We had our astrological new year. We've had Mercury move into Aries, and Aries is the first sign in astrology. It's the most energetic sign. It's a fire sign. It's about being in the present moment, moving really fast, action, determination, masculine energy, and impulsiveness, and in its shadow side, impatience. So we've got Mercury now retrograde in Aries, which is going to bring some conflict and confusion, okay, in certain areas of life. And I'm going to go through each of the 12 signs and talk about where for each of the 12 signs you may be experiencing conflict, confusion, impatience, where we're going to be experiencing, you know, review and reflection on not just those Mercury areas of life, but also those Aries areas of life. So this is a time when we can definitely be experiencing conflict, more confusion, people being very impulsive, us feeling very impulsive ourselves, and more impatient and blunt than usual. So it's very important during this Mercury retrograde in Aries to not take anything personally. If you guys have ever heard of that book, The Four Agreements, I absolutely love that spiritual book, The Four Agreements, by, what's his name? Don Miguel Ruiz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And one of the ancient Toltec Four Agreements is to not take things personally, okay? Whenever someone is reacting to us, or it feels like they're projecting onto us, or it feels that they're, angry at us, and sometimes people are angry at us because we have done something wrong, but other times it is people's own projections onto us that don't have anything to do with us. So I feel like with this Mercury retrograde in Aries, I'm kind of titling it, Don't Take Anything Personally, okay? And I feel like the book, The Four Agreements, and I'll put that book in the description box of this video, is a really great kind of Bible, if you will, for us during this time. I'm going to go through each of the 12 signs, but I also want to mention that on April 11th, we're going to be having a Mercury cazimi. A cazimi is when a planet exactly conjuncts the sun. So Mercury will be in exact conjunction to the sun, both in Aries while Mercury is retrograde. And cazimis are times when we can have great insights, downloads, and they're very, very auspicious. So pay attention to April 11th, you guys. There's some very cool downloads and insights, intuitive feelings that we can be getting about things that I think are going to be very important and pertinent. We're also going to have on April 19th, Mercury retrograde exactly conjunct Venus. So a big theme with this retrograde, with Mercury and Venus both traveling through Aries together, them both making an exact conjunction on the 19th, is reviewing and reflecting our relationships, our committed relationships, because that's what Venus rules, as well as our values, because that's what Venus rules, and what areas of life we have maybe given our power away. Because the shadow side of Aries, one of the things we need to reflect on when Mercury retrograde is in Aries is, where have we perhaps given our power away? What area of life do we need to take our energy and our power back from? And with that Mercury conjunct Venus on April 19th, it's very much going to be about our love relationships, business partnerships, commitments. The birds are singing as I'm saying that. Committed relationships. So that'll be a very important day to pay attention to, as well as the April 11th cazimi during this Mercury retrograde. Okay, so now I want to go through each of the 12 signs and do little mini predictions for each of the 12 sun, moon, and rising signs during this Mercury retrograde in Aries. And I'm going to start with the Aries, of course, sun, moon, and rising. So for Aries, this Mercury retrograde is happening in your sign. So you are going to feel it affect you the most out of any other signs, other than the Geminis and the Virgos are also going to feel it very strongly, because they are ruled by the planet Mercury in astrology. So the Geminis, the Virgos, the Aries, as well as the other cardinal signs like Aries, which are the Libras, Cancers, and Capricorns, those signs will be the most affected by this Mercury retrograde period. Aries, for you, you are getting absolutely blasted this month and during this retrograde, because we are having a total solar eclipse in your sign, new moon eclipse in Aries on April 8th. Then we've got this Mercury retrograde happening in your sign. Then we've got on April 23rd, a full moon in Scorpio, in your 8th house of Scorpio. So Aries, this is a very intense time for you, where with this Mercury retrograde happening in your 1st house, you are being the most physically affected by this retrograde. Your energy levels physically can be feeling a little bit off. You can be feeling more tired than usual, okay? Aries is the planet of energy and physical activity and physical exertion. So with Mercury retrograde in your sign, in your 1st house, wouldn't be surprised if you're feeling more tired than usual. You want to be paying attention to your immunity. Ooh, there's a big bumblebee. There's a bumblebee here as I'm filming this video, and it's huge. As I'm talking to you, Aries, I'm just going to stay still and keep talking. with this bumblebee flying around me. This is maybe what's cool about me doing these videos outside, is that we get the animals and the insects and the birds showing up as animal totems. So for Aries, you guys are having the bumblebee come up as I'm talking about this. And that's interesting because the bumblebee is very much a power animal about boundaries. Okay, so you guys are usually very good at your boundaries, but you know, there's a lot of intense transits that are going on for you right now, and maybe there's some areas of life that you need to be reviewing and reflecting on your boundaries and setting some better ones in place, okay? But with this retrograde happening in your first house, you're being very physically affected, so just take, you know, your good supplements. If you take supplements, drink really good water, eat well. Also with this retrograde in your first house, how you present yourself to the world may have some delays or confusion around that. So it's really not the best time, Aries. It's not the best month to be putting something new out there, to be starting a new fashion style, to be getting a haircut, to be getting physical kind of important appointments if possible, okay? Because the first house rules our body and our physical health, how we present ourselves, and the wind is blowing really strong as I'm saying this right now. So just pay extra attention to that. Also, Aries, some of you may be feeling many technical or communication issues, so very important for you to double check everything. As I said, this retrograde will be affecting you guys the most with the other cardinal signs and the Geminis and Virgos. So love you, Aries, and have a happy Mercury retrograde. Okay, for the Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Risings, this month, you know, it's also a very big deal for you. I was just telling the Aries that it's not normal astrology for them and they're getting absolutely blasted. And for you, Taurus, it's the same thing. I'm going to talk about what this Mercury retrograde in Aries is all about for you this month from April 1st to April 25th. But it's very important to remember that this month we have Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in your sign. And this is a very rare conjunction that we have not had since 1941, Jupiter and Uranus conjunct in the sign of Taurus. The exact conjunction will be on April 20th, and you are feeling the effects of this throughout the whole month. There are huge opportunities, personal change, and growth happening for you, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Risings. Uranus is rapid and unexpected happenings, and Jupiter is our beliefs, abundance, blessings, and expansion. So it's very positive for Tauruses overall, and important to remember that not just with this retrograde, but that you guys are getting also blasted with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in your sign, and your very self and identity is transforming massively. This Mercury retrograde specifically though in Aries is happening from April 1st to April 25th, as I mentioned, and it's happening in your 12th house. This may feel as a possibly really confusing time for you Tauruses, as the 12th house deals with fantasies, illusion, confusion, and mental health. So this can feel for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Risings like a really trippy, dippy, weird time with that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and Mercury retrograde in the 12th house. You can be fantasizing more than usual about things that really aren't for your best interest. So just pay attention to if you go into an overly daydreamy place, an overly fantasy place. It's important for you guys to be staying extra grounded throughout the month, which you usually are one of the most grounded signs, but these are some really interesting transits that you're having. Some of you Tauruses can also be feeling exhausted during this retrograde. So, you know, the 12th house is rest, sleep, rejuvenation, dreams. So you could be feeling more tired during this retrograde than usual, similar to what I was just saying for the Aries before. And subconscious issues and things and people from the past and even past lives can be resurfacing at this time with Mercury retrograde in your 12th house. And I've also got, oh my God, this bumblebee around me again as I'm talking to the Tauruses. So Tauruses, also for you, and I said this for the Aries, you know, bumblebees, when they show up, are about boundaries and protection. So, and the 12th house also rules hidden enemies. I was almost about to forget to say that, but the bumblebee is making me feel like saying that. The 12th house rules hidden enemies. So there may be during this retrograde some people that you learn about in your life that actually don't have your best interest and have been kind of like a hidden enemy. So, but in the positive, this can be a very creative time for you, a very spiritual time. It's good for you to make time for spiritual practices and make extra time for rest and sleep. So wishing you guys a very happy Mercury retrograde. Love you, Tauruses. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Risings. We've got Mercury retrograde from April 1st to April 25th, and Mercury, of course, is your planetary ruler. So this is going to affect you more so than most of the other signs. This retrograde is happening in your 11th house, so it's a good time for you to reflect and review your friends, your group associations, your goals, and your dreams. Mercury in Aries, you know, Aries has to do with conflict. So there can be some conflicts or miscommunications for you coming up with friends or community, group associations. So paying attention to that, making sure you're double checking everything, communicating clearly, making sure that you're being understood by others. Also, the 11th house rules technology and social media. So Gemini is very important for you guys to back everything up, okay? Back up your phone, back up your computer, make sure all the technological devices and your social medias are working smoothly, because when we've got Mercury retrograde in the 11th house, there can possibly be some technological hiccups coming up. Also, Gemini, very important for you to not make any big decisions about the future during this Mercury retrograde time, as it's happening in your 11th house, and the 11th house also rules the future, okay? But wishing you guys a very happy retrograde and sending you lots of love. Mwah. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings. This Mercury retrograde is happening in your 10th house. It's in the sign of Aries from April 1st to April 25th. This is, you know, the house of work, career, your public image, and your long-term goals, authority figures, and parents. So for you Cancers, you are having review and reflection. It's a good time to do review and reflection in these 10th house ruled areas. You may notice some conflict or miscommunications going on for you during this time in those areas. And there can be unexpected delays in work or your goals, okay? I'm also going to say to you guys a similar message that I just said for the Geminis before you who have this retrograde in their 11th house and you're having it in your 10th house. Both of those houses deal with long-term goals in the future. So Cancers, it's not the best time during this retrograde, if possible, okay, and of course life happens sometimes, but if possible, to not make big life decisions about your long-term goals, about careers. Just witnessing during the retrograde what's coming up for you in your work, in your career, with your parents, with your elders, and making note of that and making time for review and reflection in those areas, okay? Also want to mention, Cancer, that on April 8th we have, you know, new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and on April 23rd we've got full moon in Scorpio, and you are the most affected by the lunations because you're the sign that's ruled by the moon. And these are some very intense lunations that we are having this month, so just making sure you're doing extra self-care, you're taking care of yourself, drinking really good water, getting grounded. If you're feeling more emotional than usual around April 8th or April 23rd, it's because of those very intense lunations. So yeah, you're not going crazy, okay? Love you, Cancers, and wishing you a very happy retrograde. Mwah. And now for the Leo, Sun, Moon, and Risings. This Mercury retrograde in Aries is happening from April 1st to April 25th, and it is happening in your 9th house. This is a time of review and reflection of your higher beliefs, higher learning pursuits, your higher self-connection, everything that starts with higher in life, your religious beliefs, and also foreign travel. The sign of Aries is our foundations and self, so it's important for you to reflect on what beliefs do you identify with, Leo, and why. Where did those beliefs that you have get programmed into you, or are they ones that you feel from yourself that actually come from your own heart and soul? Okay, there can be major revelations during this retrograde around beliefs that you've been holding that maybe aren't actually yours, that have been programmed into you from somewhere else. And I'm not calling you guys stupid, because I believe everybody in life, in the Western world, the way that we've been living, we've all been brainwashed in different ways. So for you, you're becoming very aware of beliefs, religious and spiritual beliefs and philosophical ones that just don't serve you anymore, that you don't wish to carry. Your very foundational self and identity can also be changing during this retrograde. Important for you to be aware of coming off as too preachy with your beliefs, so just make sure you're communicating clearly, and also be mindful of not being too overly optimistic about everything, as the 9th house is one of the very positive signs in astrology that rules optimism. So just being aware of over optimism in certain areas of life, and double checking anything having to do with foreign travel if you are going to be traveling this time, because this is the house of foreign travel. So there may be delays that you're experiencing, but just double check, triple check everything. And I'm sending you guys lots of love, Leos. Happy Mercury retrograde. Mwah. And now for the Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Risings. Your ruler is Mercury. Mercury is your planetary ruler. And as I've been saying in this video, Mercury will be retrograde from April 1st to April 25th. So this is going to affect you even more than most of the other signs. And this Mercury retrograde in Aries is happening in your 8th house. Dun, dun, dun. This is the most intense sign in astrology. So reviewing and reflection time is very good for you on your hidden self. Okay, there's things from the hidden side of life and your own shadow that are coming up to the surface. During this retrograde, this is one of the most intense houses to be having a Mercury retrograde. And one of the best ways to work with it is to actually be doing some shadow work or some psychotherapy or some real deal, because Scorpio in the 8th house is real deal, spiritual healing modalities, okay? There can be things from your past, because Mercury retrograde can very much bring up things from the past that we have hidden in our subconscious or in our shadow side that's coming up for you to heal and release. And this can feel very intense for some of you Virgos. You can also be feeling emotionally very extreme during this time, so just doing extra self-care, extra self-love, and you guys are going to get through it. Okay, Virgos? So I'm sending you lots of love and wishing you a very happy Mercury retrograde. Now we move to the Libra, Sun, Moon, and Risings. Libra, we are having this Mercury retrograde in Aries from April 1st to April 25th, happening in your 7th house. And the 7th house is your house, the Libra-ruled areas of life. So this is a good time to be reviewing and reflecting on your commitments, committed relationships, your aesthetic and personal style. This is a classic transit, Libras, for exes from the past that are going to be coming out of the woodworks, okay? So not that I'm wishing that upon you, but just saying that you guys could be having some exes that are coming up from the past. So just please watch out for misunderstandings or confusion or spiritual tests coming up in your love life. And remember, Libras, we're currently having the South Node in Libra. We just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Libra on March 25th. So we are collectively, all of us, but especially you, releasing karmic relationships that don't serve us. So if you randomly have someone coming back from the past that you know was not a good relationship or was toxic or had major red flags, you don't need to go there. It's just a little spiritual test, perhaps, because whenever I believe we make a big decision or transformation in life, we get tested by the universe. So just observing, not absorbing, not making any big committed relationship decisions during this retrograde. Also not doing any very, important beauty appointments or treatments, because Libra is one of the signs that rules beauty and aesthetic. So just being mindful of that. And I'm sending you guys lots of love, and have a happy retrograde. Mwah. Yeah, now we move to the Scorpios, my fellow Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Risings. This Mercury retrograde in Aries is happening in our 6th house, okay? And it's happening from April 1st to April 25th. This is a positive time, Scorpios, for us to be reviewing and reflecting our health, routines, and our day-to-day work, okay? You may have delays in health appointments or feel physically more tired than usual. So very important for you guys to be doing extra self-care. And it's also a very good time to be paying attention to, because this retrograde is in the sign of Aries, where have you perhaps given your power away in your day-to-day work or in your routines or in your health? And where did some of those unconscious or unhealthy rather patterns in those areas of life come up for you, and how can you take your power back from those areas? Okay, just watch out for conflicts in your day-to-day work or conflicts with potential clients if you have them, because those can have to do with the 6th house too. But other than that, it's a great time to be focusing on your health, to be doing a cleanse if that resonates with you, and make some positive lifestyle changes. So I'm sending you, Scorpios, lots of love. Happy retrograde. And we now move to the Sagittarius Sun, Moon, and Risings. You guys are having this Mercury retrograde in Aries from April 1st to April 25th in your 5th house. Saggies, similar to what I was saying to the Libras, this is a classic transit for having potential lovers and exes from the past coming out of the woodworks, coming back into your life, hitting you up in your DMs, wanting to connect. So just being mindful of that. And, you know, maybe these are people that are coming back from your past that maybe it's positive to start a relationship again, but usually during a retrograde, it's not. Usually it's a spiritual test that's coming up. So just being mindful of red flags in life around committed relationships, okay? The 5th house also rules love, romance, creativity, confidence, our inner child, and children. So you can be experiencing confusion or misunderstandings with it being a Mercury retrograde in some of these areas of life. It's a good time to review your relationship to fun, play, and creativity. Wishing you guys a very happy retrograde. Mwah. And now we move to the Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Risings. Capricorns, you're having this Mercury retrograde in Aries from April 1st to 25th in your 4th house. And as I'm starting to talk to the Capricorns, can you guys hear all the birds that are chirping around me? All the different sounds that are around me? So I feel like this is a very important message for the Capricorns, with all of the birds just suddenly starting to chirp very loudly. We've got this retrograde happening in the sign of Aries. Aries is the sign of conflict, impulsiveness, and impatience. You Capricorns may be having some issues arising with family members or the people that you are living with at the moment, or the very home that you are living in at the moment. So pay attention to that. And it's a good time to review and reflect on where you live, your family dynamics, and your emotional well-being. And maybe this is why the birds are chirping so loud, because for Capricorns, you know, the moon is at detriment in Capricorn. The moon rules our emotional well-being. Capricorns overall can have a challenge with expressing their emotions, doing emotional healing. So this retrograde is actually an amazing opportunity for you Cappies to be doing emotional healing, to be focusing on your emotional body. I'm hearing Spirit say emotional release techniques, and to be focusing on your home and family. It's a good time to be spending a lot of time within the home, cleaning the home out, perhaps doing some feng shui as well. So I'm wishing you guys a very happy Mercury retrograde. Mwah! See you soon. Now we move to the Aquarius Sun, Moon, and Risings. Aquarians, I can't talk today with this retrograde. We're having the Mercury retrograde in Aries in your 3rd house from April 1st to April 25th. This is one of the 2 houses that is ruled by Mercury. So you guys can be potentially feeling this retrograde very strongly. There can be conflicts, impatience, issues coming up, miscommunications with friends, siblings, cousins, or your local community or on social media. So important to pay attention to that. It's a good time for you to be reviewing and reflecting on the 3rd house areas of life, which is how we communicate and what we're learning, courses, our siblings, our cousins, our local community, our cars, our day-to-day activities and gadgets. So this is a lot of things that can be coming up for you during the retrograde. The 3rd house is a very busy, quick-paced house. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, know that it's because you've got the Mercury retrograde in your 3rd house. You can also be feeling like mentally that your mind can't stop and you're constantly thinking. So that's normal because the 3rd house rules the mind. So you may be feeling confused or coming up with ideas and concepts that are just not really the right way of doing things for your highest good. So Aquarius, is just very important to be trying to take it easy during this retrograde, not being overly impulsive, okay? And just observing and not absorbing all the busyness around you, all the stuff that's coming up around you. Just observing what is coming up and doing review and reflection based on those areas. I'm wishing you guys a very happy retrograde and see you soon. Mwah. Now we have for the Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Risings, this Mercury retrograde in Aries that we are having from April 1st to April 25th is happening in your 2nd house. Pisces, please be extra mindful of spending and major purchases during this time, and hold off on any major purchases if possible. I know that life can happen during a Mercury retrograde, but this is happening in your 2nd house of income, purchases, spending. So just be really mindful of that. This is the house of your values and material possessions as well. So it's good for you to be reviewing and reflecting on your values, where perhaps your self-worth or your value got disempowered at some point, because this is in the sign of Aries, and working on how to take that self-worth and value power back to you. Okay, so I'm wishing you guys a very happy retrograde. And also there may be some new income streams that you become aware of at this time, but just hold off on taking any action on those new ideas until after the retrograde. Okay, so love you, Pisces, and sending you lots of love. So thank you guys so much. If you've gotten this far, the birds are chirping very loud. I hope you guys don't mind. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share my channel and this video if you really enjoy my content. Leave a comment below. Let me know how you're feeling with this Mercury retrograde. And again, I offer personal astrological consultations. The link is in the description box of this video. And my husband Jens and I are hosting a Sacred England retreat in July of 2024. So you guys can check that out. All the info for that also in the link of the description box of this video. I'm wishing you all a very happy Mercury retrograde and see you soon. Bye.